this Ramadan.
Well, the time is just gone 12 minutes past 4 p.m. on the Iftar drive this afternoon on the 27th day of Ramadan. And we are now kicking off taking a look at President Cyril Ramaphosa calling an urgent cabinet meeting discussing new plans for the old coal power stations. The question is this an about turn on the part of the president? We've heard about the just transition and just the move away from coal in general. And what does this actually mean? And just to try and understand or put this discussion into context, we are joined by Crown Prince Adil Inchabaleng right now. Brother Adil, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Kareem to you, my brother. And yes, we've got basically a few days left of the month of Ramadan. We trust and hope that, inshallah, all is going well on your side.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Ramadan Kareem to yourself and the listeners. Everything is good, alhamdulillah.
Well, I see a little later on we've got a discussion coming up with the MJC, and when you and I talk, we're talking about electricity, we're talking about load shedding, and I see the MJC is making a submission to the government to have a reprieve on the day of Eid from load shedding, Adil.
Yeah, that is going to be a bit difficult because one, we don't know when is the day of Eid going to be, and then secondary, the challenge is given that the sighting of the moon will not give enough time for maybe the power station managers and everything to ramp up. So I don't know how it's going to be possible, but it's a good request. It's about time actually that the South African population knows that the Muslims do count as well, and that Eid is a very important occasion for us, given the fact that people have sacrificed the whole month of their fasting during the month of Ramadan, and on the day of what is supposed to be a victorious, joyous day, not having electricity is a huge inconvenience. And as a result, it's good that MJC has requested to the government, particularly the president, to say if they can just prioritize ensuring that there is electricity availability for all those that are going to be responsible for providing the food, cooking, and all of the other things. So I think it's a good request. It needs to be supported. And we say actually it's about time Muslims start standing out like all other, festivities of Christians and other religions, which are respected, in this sense. Islam needs to be given the same platform.
Well, inshallah, we hope so. But yes, let's talk about the president calling for an urgent ESCOM meeting, talking about plans for power stations, extending the lives of the coal power station. And this obviously goes against the whole just transition argument, Adil.
Look, with regards to the plan, the emergency meeting, the cabinet meeting by the president, there is nothing against the just energy transition plan, by the way. People are misleading the public when they say that extending life of power plants is actually going against the just energy transition plan. This is a plan that we created in South Africa, that we made as a pledge. It's not something that was said that it should be cast in stone. And it's based on what we set up on the RP19 to say certain power plants, because they are reaching a certain lifespan, should be actually discontinued and mothballed and shut down. But it's not a must. These power plants are fairly not that old. If you were to look at the historical trend of power plants across the world, we have some of the fairly youngest plants in respect to years. When they say 40 years is a lifespan, that 40 years can be increased to 60 years plus 80 years, right up to the point where some power plants are running for 100 years around the world. So, the argument is a bit weak at this stage. And given the fact that everybody around the world are all going back to coal and they are reviving the power plants, which is coal-based, and they are actually bringing them back into operation. So the argument to say, extending power plants is actually a risk towards the just energy transition. No, it doesn't hold water at the stage. And we are in an emergency situation. shutting down any power plant is the most reckless decision that can be done politically. And it will lead to the demise of the ANC anyway. You know, next year's election will treat the ANC in a very hostile way, as it was done before, when people refused on 2019, to go out for elections, for the local general elections, where people didn't vote for the ANC, and neither did they vote for any of the opposition. So we are facing that dilemma, and I think the plan tabled is a good plan. The only issue is there's a twist in it. Government is not committing capital. They are not putting money on the table. Instead, they are saying that they are going to extend the life of this power plant and then solicitate capital from external providers. We don't know what is the detail of those external providers, who will be bringing in the money and how, under what conditions, etc., etc. So that's where the sketchy part is on that plan.
Exactly. But now, where does this leave, someone like President Cyril Ramaphosa? Because, he's obviously made certain commitments as far as moving away from coal is concerned, and also at the same time looking at some of the internal dynamics that have been playing out. And, recently we've heard about Gwede Mantashe with the appointment of a new minister of electricity as well. There are still some issues that are playing out in the background, and perhaps you could enlighten us, Adil. Whether this will actually help the president in any way whatsoever in terms of what he wants to do in overcoming the crisis that we are facing.
Look, the president has no choice. The pressure for actually retaining and returning these power plants to operation, as well as extending their lifespan, is actually a public call. South Africans stood up on their feet with the last stay away of the shutdown, which was organized by EFF, where the country came to a standstill to show that there is a real issue around energy provision. So it will be risky, and the president doesn't make decisions on his own. He listens to the public. That is what democracy is all about. He doesn't make decisions on his own behalf, by his own behest, for his own interest. And if it is the attitude coming out of the presidency that they will just do willy-nilly as they wish, it's going to be disastrous, because it's going to come back with what you're experiencing in Europe, whereby you have the likes of European countries like Paris, where people are demonstrating and are taking to the streets and are actually planning to overthrow the government by either popular vote or popular dissent. So in this case of South Africa, we can't move away from coal. I mean, it's the most unrealistic plan ever. It's like this whole plan where they're saying they are introducing electric cars. As a result, you must stop driving any car that is combustion engine. Who's going to do that? That's all we have right now. We have coal, we have nuclear, which is almost 2,000 megawatts, and the rest is all makeshift plans. So if you're saying that we must totally shut down and follow the Just Energy Transition Plan and completely abandon the key resource we have, which is the most cheapest to produce electricity, and in a crisis like what we have with the global energy crisis right now, it's a disastrous move. So, I mean, there's a huge pressure coming from the ground. This is not just an issue relating to the president and his interest of just saying South Africa must move away. No, this is a South African call made by South Africans who are saying we are tired and we're sick and tired of being shoved and pushed around. This load shedding state aid experiences now that we're going through is not something that they're going to sit back and just watch. So the president is under tremendous pressure to make a decision. And again, the fact that you have ministers like Minister Gwede Mantashe and now the new Minister of Electricity speaking very clear and strong about the issues of saying that the coal plants we have no problems. They should be retained, they should be extended the lifespan, and on top of it, they should be revitalized and actually refurbished on the basis that maintenance must be carried out on philosophy basis. It shows you that the ruling party itself is not united on this plan of just energy transition. Most of what I know is most of them never even bought into the plan. Most of the members of the ruling party at the NEC level do not support the move away from coal. They don't support the just energy transition plan. And they're not even interested in the COP plan, by the way, that was signed under the Paris Accord. So you have a highly divided political party at the political space. with the ANC being at the center of this whole decision and are in total disagreement with these plans to say we must move away from particularly coal and invest in something that is not even guaranteed, is unreliable, and is not even available 24/7, 365 days a year. So Minister Mantashe has taken a lot of flack, and he's been the one leading this whole discussion to say, guys, as much as you can wish and dream, we're not going to move away from coal. Coal is going to be with us for more years to come, for nothing less than 100 years, given the way things are going around the world. And that particular view was echoed by Minister Pravin Gordhan last week at the energy colloquium, whereby he stated clearly to say, listen, there's been changes in the global dynamics. The West is expecting us to follow to follow what they say, yet they are not living they are not living according to what they are saying. So he actually summarized it in a nice statement. He says they are pushing to us and telling us that do as I say and not as I do. That was the statement. So they are actually hypocrites. They are currently reviving their coal power plants and ensuring that they have electricity using coal. Yet they are telling all the African countries to abandon their coal reserves and using of coal. So there's been a change in sentiment. There's been a change in terms of view across this political spectrum in South Africa. And I think for the first time, the ANC had realized that it is going to lose power. And if something is not done drastically, it's going to be chaotic.
Yes, Adil. In fact, it's a case of being coal rich but starved or energy starved, for want of a better term. And this whole trade off between energy security and just transition. But at the end of the day, looking at South Africa and looking at some of the other countries also around the world, who is actually, told the rest of the world, the likes of Europe, the likes of the United States of America, if you look at China, you look at India, that, don't interfere. We know what to do. We've got an economy to run. We need power. We need energy, and we will do what we have to. And this is the same attitude that we in South Africa need to adopt as well, Adil.
Absolutely. And that is why I'm happy that the public in South Africa has woken up and they know the truth and they have taken to all platforms, social media, their institutions, organizations, and everywhere. And they are actually protesting against this, down, even including some of the power plants that was just shut down, which was supposed to have actually been given an extension lifespan. So this shutdown is not going to happen. We are going to oppose it with all the might we have. And the public is going to stand up against this entire unjust process. Just energy transition should happen naturally like anything. A technology should come in, mature, grow, and become stable, not forced through a legislative instrument and against the best of what we require out of what we have. Baseload works. If anything can challenge baseload, let them do it equally, but not under the force and duress that they are doing now.
Well, Adil, we're going to have to leave it at that. As always, it's a pleasure engaging and talking to you with regard to these matters. And we wish you all the best, inshallah, all the best for the rest of the month of Ramadan as well. And also for the day of Eid, inshallah. Let's hope we will have a load shedding free, a free load shedding day, inshallah. And wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much. And we wish everybody Eid Kareem and Mubarak. And hopefully we have a beautiful last few days of Ramadan. And may Allah accept the efforts of everybody for their sacrifices during this month.
Thumma Ameen, and our du'as are with you as well, my brother. Keep well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Well, that brings us straight on to 26 minutes past 4, and it is time for the Athar Adhan. I see there's a comment come through from Ismail Bemath, who says we must stop listening to the Europeans as members of BRICS. The BRICS bloc can only increase in membership and become a force to be reckoned with. Yes, very, very true, brother Ismail. And that comment is well received. The time is heading quickly for the Athar Adhan. And after the Asr Salah, we still have got a fair amount to cover on the Iftar drive this afternoon. So until we meet In a few minutes' time, I'm going to leave you with the Adhan, and we've got one or two interviews that we will be playing out, inshallah, and link up with you at around 20 minutes to 5, inshallah.
What for you is the biggest problem you are finding with the Al Jazeera, expose, right? Number one, and do you think that expose will harm the flourishing Zimbabwean gold economy?
The problem I have with the expose from Al Jazeera is that it was false. It tried to create the impression that there is a smuggling of Zimbabwean gold out of the country to the UAE. That is not a case because Zimbabwe has just broken its record of submissions of gold to its government, and it has also been that if you understand the value chain, the moment that gold is taken out of the ground, it's taken out by artisanal miners who mine 60% of our gold, and they always sell their gold cash upfront at market rate, less 4%. So that money gets left in Zimbabwe. That gold can then not be taken out of the country without being smelted or without being refined because it won't collect the best prices in Dubai. So once it's refined, taxes are paid. So at least 96% of the value of that gold is left in Zimbabwe. So by the time it goes out, the agent is taking that gold to go and retrieve the 4% that's left for them to have bought the gold in the first place. Right there, smuggling cannot happen under those conditions. In fact, smuggling becomes unlucrative if you don't refine, if you do not process it, if you do not pay taxes to get a certification to take it to Dubai, where people can buy it knowing the value of that gold. Then there is the commercial producers of that gold. It's very easy for our government to be able to measure what they're producing because they look at dumps. They know that if you can take 2 grams out of every ton, they come and look at the dumps that you've got. They measure the dumps, and then they expect a certain amount of gold to come out of your mine based on the profile of your mine over the years. So they know what to expect out of these mines. So if there's any smuggling that's happening, it's very little, it's not lucrative. It's not as lucrative as going through the normal market, which pays our miners in US dollars at the price of the world price, less 4% for the quality of gold that a person takes out. So I think that the Al Jazeera didn't understand that. They tried to create a case of money laundering. But money laundering is when a crime is committed. It creates profits. Those profits are then brought into the legitimate banking system. And they said that that was happening in Dubai. And it was a hypothetical scenario where someone was saying, I've got dirty money. They were talking to agents with licenses. And those agents were saying, if we want to clean your money to get it into this gold trading sphere, we are going to put your money in a bank account in Dubai, either the bank account that we open for you or a bank account that belongs to us. The laundering of that money is taking place in Dubai and not in Zimbabwe.